Roll call, please.
Darlene Bailey.
Here.
Brian Ham.
Here.
Dan Holloway. John Hearn.
Here.
Bree Switzer.
Here.
Susan Warman.
Here.
Mark Kelly.
Here. Quorum being present, entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I move that the agenda be approved as presented.
Second. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Now have recognitions. The first is Andy Kryling, first team All-State volleyball. I don't believe Mr. Kryling is able to be with us, nor is volleyball coach. But we do want to recognize Andy for her hard work. She's headed to Arizona State next year to play volleyball. And is doing well in swimming this year as well.
Currently ranked first in the 53 in the state for our class.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we have academic all-state football. I believe Coach Gray is going to be with us, as well as Josh Meekum and Briggs Terwilliger. Coach's mic is off. There you go. Coach, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Fantastic. Tell us a little bit about your players and your team.
Well, first of all, thanks for having us and allowing us to recognize these young men that represented us at the All-State and All-District. There are many others as well, but these guys kind of stood above and beyond. These three, as everybody knows, with a season that was up in the air to start with. These guys were great examples of staying true and fighting through adversity throughout every obstacle that kind of came through us. And this is just another way of recognizing them for their leadership throughout the year, and looking forward to great things from them. And I'm gonna start with Josh. Josh is a senior for us. He's an offensive lineman. He is an academic all-stater, which means that you have to have 25 or higher on your ACT score, or a 3.5 or higher, or the top 10%. And Josh is not only a leader and did a fantastic job this year for us, but is obviously one of our intelligent linemen, which is always great to have, and leading that crew this year up front. And the one thing with Josh is that he's been able to adjust early on and kind of maneuver around to a couple different positions for us on the offensive line, and went through some adversity. And the thing with him that is he was definitely persevered through and did a great job of not only battling each week and through the week, but did it in a great manner and did it with great pride, and was a great leader for us, not only on the field but just by example as well. So he's we're going to miss him next year, but I'm very proud of him and what he was able to endure, and is very excited for what he's got going for him as he kind of goes on to his next step after he graduates. Mr. Josh Meacham. All right. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, very good. Next one, sticking with the academic all-state, is Briggs Terwilliger. Briggs is another offensive lineman, and he also played D-line for us. And he's a young guy. I say a young guy. He was unfortunately last year missed the season due to an injury, and we were expecting great things from him. Not only knowing what he was capable of doing by seeing his work in the weight room and his road to recovery, but another phenomenal athlete. And I don't use the word phenomenal lightly. I think, with all these guys, I think the things that they're capable of doing, the sky's the limit. And, we expect a lot out of Briggs. Looking forward, we're going to expect a lot out of Briggs, but kind of recapping his season, another lineman for us, played the offensive line and defensive line, a big playmaker, exciting individual to watch. If you watch the games and you watch the trenches, you see him in there battling away on both sides of the ball. And the thing with Briggs is really this being kind of his, to be honest, his first season since his freshman year to play. We were looking forward to him, hopefully, obviously, doing some great things, and which he did. He too went through some trying times, and I think those are the things. I think with this team, not to deter what I'm talking about Briggs, but what these guys have been able to endure week in, week out, even on a daily basis, and using Briggs and even Josh and even Ian. I mean, it's representative of our team of how to handle situations, and really I think them looking forward and going on in the future are going to look back as this moment or this year, this season, specifically talking about football, of what they learned from that, and how they can overcome some obstacles that may come in their way. And there's going to be more, and there's more than what they endured this year, I'm sure, as they travel through. But with Briggs, he again was the academic. He had a 3.5 or higher, and with his ACT being a high score from him as well. And Briggs also had all these young men had all conference awards and other accolades as well. And I think it's definitely a testament to Briggs specifically, again, that what he endured and was able to do, and come back from anything that he may have missed, and was ready to go. And that, shows the true character of a young man when you get guys like this that have those things happen, and they come back like nothing happened, and they step right back in. And I think those will definitely treat them well as they go on throughout their high school career for these guys, and Josh as he enters a new chapter of his life once he graduates KMO. So I think Briggs is a great example of what we want, as a young man in Kearney High School, and does a great job of being a leader and doing things the right way. So with that being said, not to get long-winded on you, but these guys deserve that. And so Mr. Briggs Twilliger. All right, I'm gonna move on to Ian Acosta now. Ian earned first team All-State accolades at the punter position. That was something for him. I think that was something that really kind of just, no pun intended, just kind of stepped into and really punted it away, and did a fantastic job for us as that. I think the one thing, besides being recognized as a first team All-State punter, Ian is a phenomenal athlete, and was a phenomenal showing of what a true, whatever it takes to be a great teammate, and learning that. And Ian also played quarterback, was a slot receiver for us, was a big playmaker. The guys that Ian and Briggs and Josh, Briggs and Josh were the protectors of Ian, if you will, at times. And I think with Ian showing great leadership, and only being a junior, we're excited to have him back next year as well. And I think with Ian, the sky's the limit for these guys. I think with Ian, the same thing, the sky's the limit for him, and understanding, as we progress through this year and getting ready for these guys' senior season, learning from this past year and what went right and what we need to learn from and how we move on from that. And, the leadership that these guys provide and the leadership that Ian provides just by his example on the field and off the field, and what he brings, the excitement that he brings to the locker room, and the things that he's able to provide by example of how he handles situations. Ian has done a great job in that. His all district awards and all of those things that he's earned is a testament in the recognition of him. And we're looking forward for his leadership coming back this next season, and his leadership not only for the football program, but also for the school. I think, as athletes or anybody that's involved in an activity, regardless of football or any sport, whatever it is, those leaders in those different activities are such a key component for the climate of the school. And these young men do a fantastic job of representing that and doing the things the right way. And, Ian also, to add to that, was also a final, or was awarded the being honored with the All Simone team, and that's a big an award for the Kansas City metro area, and he also earned that award as being on the All Simone team. Kind of the Simone Award is the kind of the Heisman Trophy of the high school football in the Kansas City area, and Ian was selected on the All Simone team, and which is a great honor, and excited for him on that, and just looking forward to some great things with these young men as they continue, and how Josh will continue to live in the program for the things that he's taught the younger kids, the younger athletes, anybody who he's come in contact with. He's kind of quiet but violent, and the linemen are kind of that way. They don't really flip that switch till they they get them on the gridiron and they get after it. But what great leaders you have in front of you here, and this is a great representation of our program and the things that they've done. So with that, Ian Acosta.
Ryan, is everybody unmuted so they can speak back? You guys, I'm going to ask some questions. I want you guys to respond. You can hear me? Everybody hear me okay? Please give me a time. Josh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I'm trying to turn up my volume. I feel like I got hearing aids on them, and they aren't. I'm good. You go ahead.
Okay. Guys, we thank you for your hard work for our district. It's great the recognition you guys have and the accolades. Certainly that's a reflection of the hard work you guys have done and dedication to your sport and athletics and to the program. I know Coach Grady is very proud of you. Josh, what do you plan to do? You know where you're going? You're going to play football at the next level?
No, I don't plan on playing football at the next level, but I'm looking at going to KU and studying aerospace engineering.
Good programs here in Mizzou. That's great. You guys, Briggs, Ian, you guys will both be back next year. You have another year, both of you?
Yeah.
Okay. Keep up the hard work. Look forward to seeing you on the field. Hopefully we can all get out there and see you next year. So appreciate you guys showing up, being here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having us.
Thank you.
Assuming we have no public comment. Okay. Next, we have the consent agenda. Entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented.
I move that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Second. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Information items, financials.
It's,
I did hear that we had approximately $17 million in the bank this
Yes.
last week,
Yes.
that the tax money had come in. Heard that today in Clay County.
88% as of today. That's positive. As reported, we're still holding at our 20.74% operating fund. Concerns still at the state level. Money's coming in a little slower than we expected. Anyone have any other questions about financials?
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next, we have current school operations.
Included with this item is an update on our district enrollment. As you can see here, district enrollment continues to be stable in comparison with first semester 2021 data and with previous years, despite an increase in number of students that have transferred out for COVID-related reasons this year. Overall enrollment is 3543. Slightly, right in line with last year. Approximately 12% of those students enrolled in KSD Connect. So if you would account for those students who have transferred out to homeschool or private school this year, for those reasons, I continue to think that we are experiencing student growth in our district and would expect some of those students to return next school. We also note that our kindergarten class is lower this year than previous years. And so it's reasonable to assume that we may have a bigger kindergarten class next year come enrollment time. So those are things that we'll be watching. Second item of information here is about secondary student grades during the first semester. So I'm sure you've all heard the national narrative and even from some of our social media posts locally that schools are widely failing most students with hybrid online learning. Because we've heard that as well, we've been closely evaluating our educational and social emotional support programming, reinforcing supports available to students, and also doubling down on communication efforts with parents. KSD continues to show effectiveness in reaching students and ensuring their success. By comparing grades of secondary students from first semester this year to first semester last year, we see about 6% more failing grades. So while we're not pleased with the higher F rate, we continue to work to ensure that each student succeeds. But the data does not support widespread failure here in our schools. Most of our students have made necessary adjustments and are demonstrating continued success in this really challenging time for a number of reasons. First, I have to thank our students for their hard work and perseverance, for parents who are helping navigate and support their students in their learning. And finally, our staff is relentless in meeting student needs. And I think relentless is the correct word there. They're a force of nature. It's pretty impressive. So there's an update about our secondary student grades. Next item, our one-to-one initiative. We have received the iPads purchased with CARES funding extended through the city of Kearney. Now that the iPads have all been distributed and are in the hands of kindergarten and first grade students, we are now officially and completely one-to-one in the school. So that's a big commitment from our district, and thank the board for your leadership in helping us get those devices in our student hands and to our technology department for getting that done so quickly. To get those ordered, secured, and then all the work that it takes to prepare those devices to get in student hands is immense, and our technology staff did a great job with that. For an update on our work with summer school, turned over to Mrs. Cobb.
Yes, we're planning on summer school running from June 3rd to June 30th this year. It will be a full 20-day summer school. Again, the locations will be Dogwood and Southview. And if numbers show the need for it, we'll open up a third building, most likely Hawthorne, since Dogwood, Kearney Elementary generally holds Readers Roundup in July, and our maintenance will need time to get into all the buildings. We are going to do it a little different this year. We are going to have a serious focus on reading. We're going to continue with a pacing guide and curriculum. We are going to have a 90-minute reading block, an extended math block, because we are going to focus on helping kids catch up that are still behind where we want them to be from the COVID situation. We're working with our 2 reading interventionists. They're going to create the pacing guides and the curriculum for our summer school program. We're still going to have a lot of fun in summer school, but we feel like we can make up a lot of ground during this 20 days of pretty intense reading intervention. Middle school, junior high, and high school will have credit recovery for all of those areas. Again, as usual, if COVID allows, we'll still offer our middle school enrichment classes. These are really popular with our middle school kids, so if we can offer these things, we will be offering those. And at the junior high and high school, we're going to expand the selection of classes that we're offering this year. Last year, we started allowing our 8th graders, once they finish 8th grade, they can start working on their high school credits to kind of open their schedule up for internships and different real-world learning opportunities for once they're in a junior or senior. So we're going to offer more things because of our one-to-one initiative. It's going to allow us to open up more online classes, and the beauty, one of the good things about COVID is we have a lot of online classes already built, so we'll be able to offer a lot of different classes for the kids this year. And we also plan to have face-to-face course offerings as well. And Kirsten Timchak will head up the elementary summer school, as she has the past several years, with admin interns working with her, and Sandy Henshaw will be running the secondary summer school.
What are we doing about transportation?
Oh, we are providing transportation for summer school. In order to get all the kids in, we need to get in, we need to provide transportation. So the plan is to provide transportation.
I know that was our plan last summer, had it
Yes.
gone through, so I just want to make sure we're still on.
That was my question, because we planned on it, and we could have summer school, so that's awesome.
Great, thank you.
And then I know that social and emotional well-being of our students and staff, that has been a concern to all of you, so I wanted to give you an update on that. We have a number of expressive therapy groups. We have a part-time art therapist who is seeing 8 different groups in 6 schools, as well as a part-time music therapist who is also seeing 8 groups in 6 schools. We have a full-time resiliency specialist. She's seeing 5 groups at Kearney Middle School. She sees a life skills group at the high school. She has a resiliency group at the junior high. She also does topic-specific. Kids can self-select at the high school if they want to be a part of a Wednesday session where they present the topics and the kids just choose whether they want to be a part of that. She is also seeing 13 students individually, and the junior high and Kearney Elementary are planning on starting new groups in that area. We currently have 48 students who are receiving individual therapy services. We do have 10 kids on the wait list right now. Synergy Services has just hired a new therapist who will be a full-time therapist for Kearney. So if she is supposed to start within the next couple of weeks, she is going through their training right now, and then she'll start with us. With that, several of the administrators have asked about sessions for teachers. So with this new therapist coming in, that is something else that we are exploring. Our behavior interventionist She is working with our highest need behavior students who are not part of the dedicated behavior classroom that we have at Kearney Elementary. She goes in, she observes, she does behavior assessments, she creates behavior plans, she works with the parents, she works with administrators, teachers, to develop a plan to get this child to a place where they are ready to learn. We also have made numerous referrals for psychiatric care, but that, again, that is outside placement, as well as in-home case management. And of course, all of those services, those are all funded by the Children's Fund, and those are all provided by outside sources, and that does not include at all what our own counselors and social workers are doing. And I am telling you, these ladies do incredible work. They are doing their own small groups, they're doing full class lessons, they do individual counseling, they do crisis intervention, they work hand in hand with Tri-County and Synergy to get the kids set up with whatever supports they need. So I can't say enough good things about the work that our own counselors and social workers have been doing in this area. The other things we've done, there is a short clip on your agenda with the sensory paths, and just so you can kind of see what we're talking about, that these are installed in all of the elementary buildings. They're made of a heavy adhesive film that they were professionally installed over the winter break. These pathways give kids a way to build sensory pathway connections in the brain. The teachers, through our trauma-informed care, they were trained in zones of regulation, which you want kids to be in a zone of learning. And sometimes when those kids are out of that zone of learning, they can go out to these sensory pathways. It gives them a change in environment, and it also promotes coping skills that take them back into that zone where they are ready to learn again. And counselors are super excited about this. And then the other thing, of course, you guys have heard us talk several times about our Panorama educational platform. We've used that to help us create our small groups to identify kids who might need those additional supports. We gave the social emotional assessment in October. We have used that information from that, and we will be giving another one in March. Any questions on that?
I did try out the sensory at Southview. I don't know if the students just told me that I needed it, but it is quite cool and something that I think the kids really have gotten into, and it's really going to help. So, vaccinations. So today, district communication went out to staff, and staff also include our contracted services with Southwest Food Service and Durham, asking their interest or by next Friday, say if they would want to take the vaccine or not, just so that we have known for our logistics how many we would need to secure. So we'll continue to work with Clay County, and they have a dedicated person we talk to at least twice a week. We have, like I mentioned in previous months, on Wednesdays we have just a call for Kearney. And then on Fridays, it is all school districts in the Clay County area that are on a call. So we have a dedicated person that just talks to us about the vaccinations. There's still a lot of unknowns, and we're still working with the timelines, but knowing that we're just trying to get that information ahead of time as we prep through this next few months.
Talked to David Fees today, CEO of Liberty Hospital, and they have had their first round, some of them their second round. It has changed dramatically the number of illnesses and absences they've had. since the vaccine. And today, you have some folks who are trepidatious about taking those of childbearing age, the ones that are the most hesitant. But he said the majority of their employees have taken them. It's made a remarkable difference.
We've had our school nurses, they've actually had the opportunity to go through that just because of where they fit into those tiers. So we have had some of our school nurses that have received them. And through Liberty Hospital. So it was a good process. Good for us to see our own personnel go through that and understand the process.
Will they come here to the district to administer the vaccines, or will the staff have to go off-site?
Those are things that we're trying to work with and seeing what that is as far as with Clay County and who has security of the vaccines. It may be something that we may look at. We may use it in one of our facilities if we develop a partnership with, whether it be a pharmacy or whether it be a hospital or clinic. So those are things that here's what we're looking at. Those are still some unknowns, but we're trying to get that count first and keep progressing towards that.
Obviously, appreciate the work that Mr. Morrison and the team are doing in that regard. We're obviously trying to make it as easy as possible for our employees of the service, if we can, to get those that wish to be vaccinated. It's, more details to come.
Thank you very much for the update. Mrs. Scott, thank you. Next, we have action items. Approval of the program evaluation for Kids Club.
Ms. Wilmus is here to present the Kids Club program evaluation. Welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here to be able to share some of the program highlights. And so Ian's got my PowerPoint for me, so I'm going to just start right in. As you may know, I have just been here about 6 months, so this is all brand new to me. So if you have any questions at any time, feel free to ask me. So our program that we offer is for before and after school. We provide care for kindergarten through 5th grade, and it is for the the Kearney School District employees and for anybody that lives within the Kearney School District families. We currently have the program at all 4 of our elementary schools, and so at Dogwood, we've got 41 children. Hawthorne, there's 15. Kearney Elementary, there's 23, and Southview, there's 44. Typically, our numbers are a little higher, and so at Dogwood and Southview, we like to see those about 60, and at Hawthorne and Kearney Elementary, about 30. We've currently got 4 site coordinators, and I've got 10 site assistants, and then 2 paras that help us out with the little guy at Hawthorne. So I thought it would be kind of fun. I've been doing lots of observations, just trying to observe the program. What are our strengths? What areas do we need to strengthen? So when I was out in the valley, I took some pictures, and I thought I would just share some of those. So some of the things that happen. Number one, we like to do some engineering stuff and building and giving kids a wide variety of things. We play games and activities. We even do, at each program, we offer readings. So about 20 to 30 minutes every day, we do reading. And so they do it in a variety of ways. They'll do some individuals, they'll do some groups, and then we've even got staff that have been speaking to some of the reading teachers, and they've been sharing with us that there's a few kiddos that are needing some extra help. And so I have several staff that have stepped up and we've got information. How can we do that? What do you need from us, and how can we support it? And so kudos to a few of my staff that have been doing that. We also have a couple A+ students that come to at least 3 of the elementary schools, and that has been going on for a while now, so that's a really cool thing. The bottom picture of a young lady playing with the 2 kiddos in the dollhouse, that's one of our parents. Or sorry, A+ students, my dad. And then they get to do fun cooking activities, and I will tell you, there have been some very creative staff with some cooking activities. They've done gingerbread houses, variety things. They talked about fire safety, and they did fire trucks, so that's the picture there. So some of our strengths that we have, number one, kudos to Ann Stover-Wyatt. This program has a great sound foundation. She did a wonderful job, and stepping into her shoes has been wonderful. We also have some amazing experienced qualified staff, and so this year, kudos to them. I'm going to continue to say that because I've asked so much of them with coming in early, doing training, talking about health and safety, what will the cleaning look like, how do we rearrange our activity areas so kids will play in smaller groups and not 10 kids at a table. So they really have stepped up, and I just cannot thank them enough. Some of our technologies that we've done, we've updated a few things, and thanks to Ryan with a lot of his help this year. Number one, we started with cell phones. And so right away, we had flip phones. We didn't have smartphones. So as you know, we've been in the meetings and kind of trying to make that phone call to say, hey, I'm running late, or somebody different speaking up my kiddo. Instead, now they can text and let our staff know. And so that's huge for us. The other piece with the cell phone, you'll see more in my presentation, is we are working on a new system, getting Remind 101 going, because emergency and safety for me has also been a number one thing, and we really don't have a quick response to families if we have to evacuate or go somewhere else. So this is going to be a number one thing. Chromebooks. My staff shook and hollered, and they were so excited when I walked in with new Chromebooks because they're able to do lesson planning and activities and work through our new data system that we're working on. And so they're not doing stuff at home on their hours, they're actually doing stuff with us, and that's great. And our A+ students, like I said, that's been going on for a while, but we were still able to continue to have them even with everything going on. So they constantly move, but we still have them at least at Southview, Hawthorne, and Kearney. So being new this year, I wanted to be able to come in, take a great look at the program. What are our strengths? What areas do we need to strengthen? And so I wanted to find the appropriate assessment so I could look at the whole picture of the program. And so what I did is I pulled out a school age care environmental rating scale. It's my sample pop, the purple books here. So what I did early in the fall is I went out and observed the program based on the scale. And so let me explain what you're seeing. There are 7 scales. So space and facilities, health and safety, activities, interaction, program structure, and staff development. This is a combination of all 4 working together. I did an individual one, but for you, I wanted to just have an overall where we are as a program. The interesting part about this environmental rating scale is you can pick and choose the things that you rate. There are actually 47 subscales to rate on. I only chose to do 21 of them, just because I really just wanted to start out with something to be able to give staff and work on goals for the program. And so you're going to see that we are not at 7 at some of them, and that's okay. That gives us an opportunity to see where areas we need to strengthen. But, for example, space and facilities, we're not at a 7 because we don't have our rugs out, we don't have our beanbags out because of COVID, and that makes things too hard to clean. So there are going to be some things. This year, we're not at 7s, but I think in the future, we'll be at 7s. The other thing is like under program structure, we're not able to do field trips or have community people come in. So that's going to lower our numbers. So I wanted you to understand, we actually are doing really well, but there are some things I can't observe, I can't see it, so I don't want to rate it because I don't know the quality of it. Okay, let me go ahead. Thank you. So some of the things I'd like to work on. Number one is improve our professional development opportunities. Coming in, I have a free service at the beginning of the year where I have an opportunity to talk with the staff and find out what they felt they needed for their program, areas that they felt they needed to strengthen. That was very helpful for me. Number one, even getting to know them. They got to know me, I got to know them, and so that was great. We discovered professional development was definitely an area we needed to do it, and even based on that scale, it's definitely an area. And like I said, updating and improving our emergency preparedness plan. We have a plan, it's a basic plan, But I think there's a lot more details that need to be in place for that. How does the communication work? Who's gonna do that? Who's gonna be responsible for certain things? We just need a more detailed one. And so that's just gonna take a little bit of time to work through and then train our staff on it. Updating job descriptions and the staff procedural handbook. There's a lot of things as I've gone through. I think there's things that we could just have a little bit more detail. Some of it's pretty vague, but I think more detail would give staff and myself more direction to give them. Also streamlining our medical information, and that actually has been something that's been really on my mind when we first came in. What I mean by this is, I had an example where a little girl was getting ready to eat. She was, I can't eat this. I had a dairy allergy. I'm looking through this application. There's nothing on here. And our response from the parent was, oh, well, the school's got it. Just talk to the school. Good point. They didn't want to fill out a whole other application giving all this information. So what I understand talking with the medical staff, there are definitely ways that we can improve this and not have an extra handout to the side or fill out. So I'm pretty excited about that piece. And then of course the observation, being able to observe on all 47 under all the skills and getting a really good picture of the whole program. And then some of the goals that I definitely just started working with, the software system is definitely a place that we want to work on. And actually, I'm excited to say, with Ryan's help too, we got that one up and running. We just rolled it out. We're on our second week of it. I want to give you just a little information why this is going to be an important piece for us. Some of you may not know all the background on this, and so it took a lot of learning on my part. We start with the IT team putting together a Google sheet for us to gather applications online. That is then printed. The data is then re-put into a program called Easy Care. That then is printed again and given to the site coordinators. The other piece is we have a whole other system that gathers our attendance. That's called KinderConnect with the state. We have multiple phases going on. Nothing gathers at one place. We now are using a program called Child Watch. It is touchless. You can scan a barcode. There's still a few hiccups. We're going to work through those as I share with families. We've got to start somewhere. We've got to be able to gather the data and see how things are working. But we've started with attendance. And so with that, they're doing that and it's dropping right in. I literally can get right on my phone and know how many kids are still left at Kearney Elementary or how many checked in at Dogwood. I have access, so if there's ever an emergency, I know exactly who's checked in. So I have that access too. Staff will have that access, it'll be on their phone also, and so if they leave, they're gonna be able to access that too. We can't get across the room to get our clipboard, we're gonna have access, so there's gonna be a backup. I'm very excited about that. The other thing is we will no longer be using the KinderConnect. That is a state system. You're not required to use it, but we are required to have a system that will talk to it. Child Watch does talk to it. We will not have to have 200 families on KinderConnect. We will only have to have maybe 5 that are receiving child care subsidy. So that's going to work much better for us. The other piece, if a family needs to reset a password, we control it. They don't have to make that phone call to the state any longer and reset. So there are a lot of good pieces with this. Parents also are going to have a portal where they can go on and print off their year-to-date statements, know when their payments are, the newsletters. They're going to have all that access to it. It's a one-stop shop, and I'm very excited. I think it's even going to help with even IT. They're not going to have to do some of the data entry and stuff too. So that's my barometer right now. I'm very excited about that. The other thing is, again, the emergency preparedness, just how do we improve that piece, creating an annual training plan and following it and monitoring things. And then the next thing that we're working on is providing training and starting to implement conscious discipline. We have some basic training on that. That is some of my background that I come from. And so being consistent in all 4 programs is important for everybody to be able to talk the same way, handle discipline or any concerns or trauma issues. The conscious discipline is going to be a great support. That is my presentation. Any questions? I will tell you, 90% of the families that went back today are families working from home, and that's why our numbers have really dropped. So I will give that.
You picked a tough year to start.
I'm sorry.
I said you picked a tough year to start.
I did, but you know what, I was really up for the challenge, so I hit the ground running, I can definitely share that too, and so, we had a lot, and I started putting things on paper. The nice thing is, I was already in the early childhood program before I came here, and we were open during COVID, so I knew what precautions had to be in place. I was able to share it, so that was a plus for me to share with you guys.
Appreciate the information.
No problem.
Well put together.
Thank
Great
you.
information for us. Thank you. Entertain a motion.
I move that the program evaluation for Kids Club be approved as presented.
Second. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Another Darlene raised her hand.
I lost something in my computer.
Kevin Bishop from DLR. Talk to us. Thank you for coming tonight, Kevin.
Sure.
Sorry for the late night.
All right. Ready for me
It's
to
your,
jump in?
it's your,
Okay. Well, Dr. Miller had asked me to come and give you guys a little bit of background on some of the things that we've been talking about on the way down here. And expecting that we would be, when we start talking about this before the end of the year, moving forward, what you see in front of you is kind of the timeline and guidelines of what we'll be doing. So I'm gonna just kind of run through this. I won't get into too in depth, but if you have any questions along the way, just go ahead and jump in. One of the things that we found in doing any kind of facility master planning, and we have worked with you guys before on planning for the future, and sometimes it's planning for a bond, sometimes it's been looking at capacities and other things that are happening. In a master plan fashion, we know that there could be an end outcome, that could be a bond, could be something else, but the idea is to put a product in front of you and something that the board has to look at, and as time goes on, you can have it ends up being a skeleton that you can hang decisions on because you've gone through that process. So our process is usually about an 8 to 9 month process because we will be engaging, as we've done in the past, community members, staff, students, as well as administration. And if it so be that you'd like to have a couple of board members on that committee, that's another option. So we'll start off. The first thing that we're going to do is organize and observe. We're going to begin the process by setting up 3 teams of groups of people that would be community members, that would be staff and students, and that would be administration. And then the way that we'll go about, we'll do the same thing with each one of those groups. And we'll start a process so we can start to feed them a little bit of information, a little bit more information as we go through this process. The intent is to educate everyone as to conditions of buildings, and we'll do that in this first phase, starting probably the end of February, beginning of March, where we'll be bringing our engineers and architects in to actually assess all of your buildings, again, just to see where we're at today, especially after all the work that you've done in the last couple of years, and bringing them up to a certain level. So we'll assess those. We'll create some things that we call dashboards. They're something that you can just take a single page, look at a building. It's going to tell you, age of the building. It's going to tell you about capacities. It's going to tell you a little bit about mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems. We also have a component of that we just do an analysis to look at what the, and don't take this wrong, I'll use the term educational adequacy, but it's really the space and how it's being used, and could it be used in a different way, or is there some program that's project-based learning, or there's any other type of direction that the district wants to go? We can start looking at spaces and seeing how those can be alternatively used, or is there something else that we need to be looking at those facilities? So that's kind of our first that first phase that you look at in March. We'll be doing all of our assessments. We'll be putting all that information together so that we can set up some time in this second phase of collect and analyze. That's where we're going to bring in and we're going to talk about goals and priorities, some things that are and we're going to align these with vision, your mission, vision, and any strategic planning that you've done to make sure that we're aligning with what the board's direction is. And this is talking, and the reason why we kind of set it up so we've got community, and then the educators as well as the administrators, is so that we can talk early on with that information. Eventually, we're going to bring those groups all together because it's important for them to have a synergy of community members hearing from teachers and students, and community members letting the administration know a little bit about how they're feeling about either facilities or what's going on, or how the things that are affecting them in the building are doing. So we'll create, as I said, guiding principles and priorities. So priorities are more things that are directional. And then guiding principles are those principles that are more aspirational. You know, what does a parent in Kearney aspire for their 7th grader or their 7-year-old to do in going through the educational process? So that really starts to be, and you'll see underneath each one of these, we just identified it as a workshop. So through this whole entire process, we'll have 5 workshops. That'll be 90 minutes. The intent is not to make them 2-hour sessions, 3-hour sessions to keep everyone interested. We'll do some exercises in these. We also have a system of audience response to get feedback from the group that we're talking to, so everyone doesn't feel like whoever's got the loudest voice in the room is what we're doing. It's feedback so that it's easier for everyone to get connected. So after we've done the assessments, we're going to share that with the group. We're doing setting up guiding principles, and we're setting up priorities. And then we're just going to do a little bit of what we call share and inform, and that's a little bit about, especially after this year, the trends, the things that we're seeing potentially happening in the educational world. Where are we at? Are we going to still be at 15% less in the classroom? Are we needing the same amount of square footage tomorrow that we have today? So some of those things, and talking with these groups about this. Of course, they don't know these things, but they certainly can feed us a little bit of information about how the parents are feeling in Kearney about, or the community members are feeling in Kearney about what So that's, all we're doing is using some of our experience from around the country. Research that we're doing directly right now. So that's kind of that share and inform, and we can do some, we say, school tours. Most likely those are virtual tours. We'll go through some schools that are performing very well right now. What do they look like? And what does that, and if there's someone that has some interest in any particular school or type of school, we can certainly bring that to bear and have that conversation too. So, and what we're doing is we're not only talking about what you've got right now, but we're also talking about what does it look like a year from now, 2 years from now? How do you get prepared for something that might change over the next 5 years? So that starts to create some benchmarks of where everybody wants to see things happening. And then the Explore is kind of a little bit more where we do some educational experience exercises with staff and community members, administration. One of the things that we'll do with staff and with the students is something that's called Day in the Life. And it's about the what does it look like to be a student in 24. So some of that. Then that's April, May, through the April, May timeframe. So at the end of the school year, so we're just getting into what we call Test Refine, and that's workshop 4, which is more of a time when we start to bring some of these concepts, ideas, or any modifications or anything that is starting to come up in the process of facility of the assessments, as well as what everyone is thinking about what the future looks like. So those 3 phases during that testing refinement is for us to pull together some things, put them in front of the community group, the staff, students, and yourselves, and have a kind of dialogue about where does that go. One of the things I think that at periods during this process will be really coming to you and having conversations about when do you want to see, what do you want to hear, if you do have some board members on the committee that report out as to how this process is going. We get to the end of that time frame, comes to be about August time frame. We're bringing back everybody together because so everybody kind of been gone out of the way for the July, August time frame. We've got some really defined direction on where that is. We do know that there's consideration for a 22 bond issue. We don't know what that looks like. We don't know exactly what that is yet. But that's when we started to look at that refinement in the September time frame. Ending up so that we can get to you as a board and start informing you for you to spend October, November timeframe pulling something together before the holidays about what does that look like if you were to look at a bond issue. So that just explaining it all to you, but it is, we like to think that it's interacting with the community members, staff, or students, and I think it's fruitful at the end of the day.
Kevin, when you talk about refining options, in my recollection with the high school project, field house.
Primary gym. Pardon me, primary gym?
That was it.
Okay.
I'm talking about now.
Oh, okay.
We had some basic diagrams that we were looking at and putting out to encourage folks with what we were talking about. I assume you would anticipate that same process here, that you'll have some, I mean, you guys do enough, folks do enough, that you'll have some basic layouts for elementary schools, which is primarily what we're talking about in this case.
Yeah.
Because that's where our capacity is, and where we're looking to expand on what we do. That we can incorporate that. Hopefully we would be looking at land also to accompany that, the proximity and what you would anticipate, what we should be looking at or wanting to tell folks we are.
Yes. Yes, I mean, all of those above. So we'll be able to, by the time we get to the imagine and refine component of this, when we're in the September, getting into October, we're gonna have some real, and it could be even a little bit before that. It could be earlier on, because you guys are a lot further along in your, I think in your development. We've been here a long time, but we don't want to miss something along the way. So you're going to see lots of diagrams, lots of imagery. We can, 540 student elementary school or 350 student elementary school. We've got examples of what that looks like.
Sure.
Very much.
What the needs are currently. I mean, that's been evolved also from each of our buildings now. I mean, it's the, do we have enough classroom? We have enough classroom space at Dogwood, but you have all of the services that go along with it. What's appropriate, at least in how we're teaching now, and how it can be molded and shaped if there are changes in the future from that. Playgrounds, all of those things, I assume is what generally, and it's to incorporate our constituents into this process so they feel that we are considering their thoughts and they're helping us inform the district about that too.
Yeah. You have people moving into the district all the time. If they come from somewhere else, and they had a great experience somewhere else, or they had a bad experience somewhere else. Information is really valuable.
No, and obviously we started that process in different ways already. I mean, we had it with Dogwood a year ago, and the conversations about need for potential redistricting. What went on with that? I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, we already necessitated that we start that process, which is then why we're taking this next step too. Anyone have questions for Kevin about the process? I mean, most of us have gone through it. I know. You guys are not as much, not from a board standpoint, but you've been involved in the process. You and Brian, Bree and Brian have. So certainly, we had a lot of meetings at the high school on our way to expanding the high school and middle school, and the additions onto Kearney Elementary. All right. Anybody questions?
I'd just like to say that, this sort of process that involves broad stakeholder engagement and thinks about, that envisions where we want to go as a district. It's important for our facilities, but it also can serve as a critical springboard to our next strategic plan that will be coming up soon. So I think that there's potential for some overlap, as not only do we think about buildings and facilities, but we think about the programming that goes along with it. And I think that's one of the strengths of DLR and Kevin's proposal for facility development.
I appreciate it.
This is not action. Do we need to make an action here?
No, we're not. We're just, I'm sorry, I'm getting hurt, Kevin. Sorry. John just had a question whether we needed to take action tonight. No, we don't.
Okay.
It's just, this is information, even though it's under action.
Okay. That works for me.
But I know Dr. Miller has already, he started working, I think he's talked to most of us about members of the community to be on the committee and to investigate that process.
That's right. So I appreciate those names you submitted. If you have other names for consideration that could be part of this work, please submit those to me. We're looking at by mid-February to try to have a finalized list of committee members.
You need anything from us, Kevin?
What's that?
Do you need anything from us?
Nope, I don't think so. Dr. Miller and I are working on putting that list of people together, and I've got some expectation things written out that tell kind of a detail about, what the workshop's going to be and what are the outcomes from those, so we can kind of see how they're involved. We always get the name that don't give them their time, so make sure that they understand the 9 minutes that we're out of.
Sure. Yeah, it'll be unique meetings. We hope we can meet in person. That may not be the case. All right. Thank you. Appreciate you coming. Always good to hear from you.
See you later.
And just as a note, as this item was placed under action, we had anticipated that we may have a service agreement ready for board review. We're still working back and forth on a few of the minor language issues. So that's why that's not presented this evening, but we would anticipate that being ready in February.
Not before it'll be February meeting.
Pardon me?
Not before it'll be February.
In the regular meeting.
Thank you. Next is board member comments. I don't know if everybody knows, but congratulations to Susan and Darlene for receiving another term. They are running unopposed. Told both of them, and I believe that is a reflection on their outstanding service to the district. I think it's a reflection of what our district does for our community too. I think that shows you that folks are not feeling there's a big need for change. So, but I commend you all and congratulate you. And thank you for your time and service. So, that's great. Just new challenges. Keep working that direction. So. Anybody else? If not, important dates. February 15th, no school, that is President's Day. Our next board meeting is February 17th. March 3rd is an early out, and spring break on March 15th through 19th. Entertain a motion.
I move for a closed session to immediately precede the regular meeting in February, including any record or vote to discuss items and issues allowable under section 610-021 of the Missouri Sunshine Law.
Before I approve that, we have something after the meeting. Does that?
That's
No, okay. Second.
Roll call, please.
Darlene Bailey.
Yes.
Brian Ham.
Yes.
Dan Holloway. John Kern.
Yes.
Reese Schweitzer.
Yes.
Susan Morman.
Yes.
Mark Kelly.
Yes. Thank you all.